Hello, everybody. My name is Natasha Otero-Santiago, and I'm here to present Hispanials and Hispanic Heritage. This is a special presentation for Hispanic Heritage Month, and I have with me a very special guest, and we are awaiting other guests to join. And his name is Led Black, and he's one of the Ford Millennial ambassadors from the Ford Millennials program. To tell you a little bit more about this program, it was started around a year ago, and we chose 6 or 7 different ambassadors from markets in New York, in Dallas, in Houston, in LA, and in Miami, and it was to represent the millennial generation. And we have given them opportunities to network with professionals, Hispanic professionals as well as American professionals. We took them last year to the Latinos in Social Media Conference in New York City. They were invited to the Ford Trends Conference, which was amazing, where Ford presents all the things that they're going to be doing in the future, all their expectations, and all the subjects that they'll be talking about in the future in their marketing, etc. And also, more recently, we had 7 millennials visiting us in Miami, Florida, where they were able to join in the culture, had cultural experiences in the Wynwood Art District, and also in Viernes Culturales in Little Havana. And we took them to the Social Media Week, which was just ending, the Miami Urban Music Festival. And they also participated in the South Florida Hispanic Chamber of Commerce annual conference, where they were at the luncheon, were introduced, and then also they participated in panels. So we are very happy with this program. You can find the program in Facebook. It's called Ford Millennials. It's a Facebook group at this moment. And for tonight, you can actually Twitter us at hashtag Ford Millennials, LLN, and also use the hashtag of HHM2014, which is the Hispanic Heritage Month. So with not much ado, I would like to introduce to you Led Black, which is joining us from New York. Led, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yourself, Natasha, how you doing?
Very good, very good. It's great to see you again in the hangout mode.
Likewise. I miss you, and I miss Miami as well.
Yeah, you tell me that New York is a little bit on the cold side, even though today was a little bit better.
Yeah, you know, fall is awesome. I'm just scared of winter, of what comes next. So right now is perfect.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, December, January, and February in New York is going to be a little bit rough. So hopefully we'll be able to give you the experience of coming down south again soon during the winter month.
That would be awesome.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and about how you joined Ford Millennials and your experiences. You know, introduce yourself, you know, your name, your Twitter handle, the whole 9 yards.
Sure. My name is Led Black. The Twitter handle is Led, LED_Black, BLACK. I started the Uptown Collective, uptowncollective.com, which is a hyper-local website dedicated to Washington Heights and Inwood. We've been broadcasting on a daily basis since February of 2010, and it's all about highlighting the culture, you know, the businesses, everything, all the good stuff happening uptown. You know, I like to say that a lot of times Washington Heights was seen as kind of a bastion of blight, you know, just this place where only bad things happen, and that's not true. So we started the site, you know, to kind of accentuate and highlight all the great things happening in the neighborhood and all the great people that have come from the neighborhood as well.
That's fantastic. And then Washington Heights, tell me a little bit about is it Hispanic, more Hispanic? I mean, were you brought up in Washington Heights, or were you brought up someplace else in the New York City area?
Well, I was born in Washington Heights, and then at 3 months old, my mother sent me to the Dominican Republic. And I came back at 5, and from 5 on, I lived in Washington Heights. Washington Heights is the unofficial 3rd capital of the Dominican Republic.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I like to call it Dominican Disneyland, because even though you might live somewhere else, you always come back to Washington Heights for your Dominican food, for your haircuts. So Washington Heights has a special place in the Dominican diaspora.
That is fantastic. And so is it like when you visited Miami that we speak either English, Spanish, or Spanglish all the time, or where in Washington Heights, do they keep their language alive, the people?
It's funny you say that because I felt like Miami was Washington Heights writ large, right? Like it was Washington Heights on a much bigger level. Instead of just being, Washington Heights is a neighborhood, Miami felt the same way, but citywide. I was really surprised how everyone spoke Spanish. In that hotel we stayed in, the Maletero, everyone spoke Spanish, and I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. I really like the vibe.
So when you think about the millennials and about your past history and about your present and going towards the future, and you see your Hispanic heritage and definitely, working with Urban Collective and doing this blog post, which is fantastic, and you talk about what's happening in Washington Heights. How do you feel like your Dominican culture or your relationship to other Hispanic cultures in New York City has affected what you are doing, what you're looking to do, either as a journalist, as a blog writer, in the music business? What is that you're looking for that you think your Hispanic nature, culture has helped you with?
Well, my mother, came from the Dominican Republic, like Latinos came from their home countries. She left everything she knew behind. She loved the place, but she couldn't find, there was no opportunity there. But, it's tough when people leave all they know behind and come somewhere new. And I feel like if she could do that for me, I have no choice but to strive for excellence, right? So I think being Latino and being, a child of immigrants, I have to strive for excellence. I have to put my best foot forward on a daily basis, and keep the negativity away and just strive to be a better person. I'm a father now, have children, and give them a better example. And still keep close ties to the Dominican Republic. Like, Dominicans like to say we have un pie aquí y un pie allá, meaning like we have one foot here in the United States and one foot in the Dominican Republic. And, I like to feel like I'm binational in that sense. And, always keeping that warmth and love and family, which are, hallmarks of Latino culture, irrespective of countries.
I know. And then even though your daughters are little and they're not millennials, I suppose that you are going to instill in them that kind of cultural background that made you who you are and your mom who she was. And other than the food and the salsa and the merengue, it's the values also that there are in the, Hispanic families. I was going to say Puerto Rican families, but that's me, where the abuelas and the parents and the respect, and there is something that that we carry and we try to instill on our children, no matter how old they are.
I agree. I mean, there's a special, we have a liveliness that is our own, and I think that, it doesn't matter if you're Dominican, Puerto Rican, Mexican, we have this warmth and this beauty that and this strength as well, to be able to come to this country and, and sometimes even overcome obstacles and barriers and still be positive and still have a smile on your face and also work. I think that's one thing that kind of separates Latinos. Like, we like to work, we like to, put our sleeves up and work, and we're not scared of work. And I think that's what this country needs. I think, in this climate of this political, on just nothing gridlock, I think we need to get back to the basics. And I think Latinos are about basics: family, work, responsibility, positivity. I think we bring it all to the table.
I know, and I see, working with the Hispanic millennials and through Ford and in other ways, I have been able to see that the millennials, they have this creativity, they have this way of approaching either projects or philanthropy or, responsibility with the society that it's different from what we have seen before, but it's very in tune with, their peers. It is very interesting for me. I have a son myself that is a millennial, so I have learned a lot from him, to see in him what is it. He goes back to being Puerto Rican. He feels very strongly about being Puerto Rican and the roots, even though he has lived 20 years of his, I mean, always in the United States, but still, it was that kind of speaking Spanish to him, doing piñón o mofongo for him, putting the music, the merengue or the salsa, and basically raising him with the abuela, with my mom, which I was very lucky that she can travel. And so I think that cultural background helps him to, to be able that even though he speaks English and Spanish, to be able to move within the millennial generation, either being Hispanic or American. So that I would think would be my next question to you. How do you see yourself fitting in the whole generation, o sea, the whole millennial generation, not only the Hispanic part, but what characteristics that you have that might fit in the generation as such and not as a Hispanic, only as a Hispanic?
Well, the thing is that with millennials, it's funny because I think we are so, we take technology on very easily. And technology has been one of these things where, okay, there's a problem, here's technology, has a fix for it. So I think that's the way we think. That's the outlook we come to things. Like, okay, there's a problem, how do we fix it? I think we don't bemoan, oh my God, the problem. We say, okay, there's the problem, tackle it, and get it done. And I think that's a healthy outlook to have, because instead of just dwelling on the things that are wrong, we dwell on how to fix the things that are wrong. And I think that's across the boards, whether Hispanic or not. A lot of these things like the even gender, same-sex marriage, all those things are not the same that they were for our parents. We don't look at them the same way anymore. We look at people as race. It doesn't have the same kind of overtones that it had prior, and I think that's a good thing, because we can only move forward, and if we stay in the past, we won't move forward.
And what do you say to, that millennials get a lot of heat, and they get a lot of heat when they say, oh, they're either, they're these generalizations of the generation, some are lazy and they still live with their parents, and they still, and they don't want to work the normal hours that, from 9 to 5, and they want to always be supportive and pasarle la manita, como dicen, o sea, que they got used to getting awards for anything, for first place, second place, third place, last place, and they always need to be supported emotionally like that. What do you say to that as a millennial? Do you say, look, we're different, and there are certain things that doesn't mean that they're wrong, it just means that, what do you say to those kinds of generalizations?
I mean, I think some of those things, they are just that, generalizations. A lot of those things of like, have to do more with economics than anything else. People are staying home more because they can't afford a mortgage anymore. They have debt from college. So what are you going to do? You're going to buy a house? You don't have that kind of disposable income. So some of those things are more circumstances of our present economy. And I think, millennials get a bad rap. And again, people always want to generalize in a bad way, making these sweeping statements, which there's some truth. There are some people that are self-absorbed, and there are some people that are lazy, but I don't think that's everyone. That's ridiculous. You can't make those kind of sweeping statements about a whole generation. I think that's thinking.
And a big generation at that, because people some people might not know. I mean, whoever is seeing this broadcast and whoever is going to see it is because they're interested in the millennial generation. But maybe some people might not know that the millennial generation is the biggest generation since the baby boomers. So basically, they are some account around 80 million that were born between 1980 and 2000. And so it's the new everything. O sea, they will hold all the corporate jobs or the entrepreneurial jobs or the moms and pops that we know now, or, the creativity, the ad agencies, the political positions. If you think about it, think of the baby boomers, then think of the millennials. And then me, I'm stuck in the middle with Generation X, so I don't count really. But but the truth is that when I see it, that's what the millennials are in. And if you were a millennial that was born around the experience of 1986 to 1988 or 1990, the truth is you came out from college right when the recession in the United States was at its worst moment. So it was not about, you didn't have the cash to be independent. You didn't have jobs to be able to even pay your student loans. So it is actually really interesting because I think they got a lot of heat that was undeserved because there wasn't jobs out there because there was such a problem with the economy that people that had jobs and experience for 5 and 10 years were taking the jobs that usually were available for college students.
Right.
I don't know if that happened to you or you experienced that, but
you know, I work in telecom as well, and you know, I think everyone across the board in my field has had to take a step back. You make less money, you know, your benefits aren't the same, and that's across the board. I think people, the widespread prosperity that is kind of a thing of the past, and you really have to work multiple jobs, you know, multiple streams of income just to make, you know, the same thing that you used to take for granted just a few years ago. So I think that's part of it. We live in a different economy now, and you have to grind different.
I know, and it's funny because I looked at all the news and you know the marketing and the agencies, and they're trying to reach and see how they can reach the millennials. It's like this formula. Let's go in the back room and see how we can reach the millennials. And then now there is a whole world of Hispanic millennials, because for those that don't know, Hispanic millennials actually make around 18 to 20% of that 80 million population of millennials. So in the United States, this is a fun fact. Actually, I thought it was 60,000 millennials turning 18 every month. Somebody the other day told me it was like 80,000, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's a lot. Yep, it's a lot of Hispanic millennials turning 18. So there is a whole culture trying to figure out how do we reach these millennials. And I love it when I see it's like, oh, they're not buying real estate, and I'm like, how can they buy real estate? I mean, I think I bought my first house, you know, when I was 32, 31, and then it's like, okay, so the millennials, why are they not buying the houses? And it's like, well, first, you know, the market is super high, and other than that, it's like they haven't had the same time to have a job for so long, you know, to be able to save.
Exactly.
So that's interesting, you know. It's like they get all this heat about things that they're not doing at the right time, and they don't realize that millennials really, you know, maybe they don't need to buy a house immediately, and maybe they don't need to get married immediately, and they're not going to follow the same trends that have been followed for the last 50 years.
But you know, even though, like, I would say this, that I grew up, you know, as a Latino, as a Dominican, I grew up in a household where it was a lot of people. You know, there was a lot of people in my house.
Everybody's a primo. Everybody's a primo in Hispanic.
It was me, my brother, my mother, my grandmother, my stepdad, and then there was someone that rented a room. So I think as Latinos, we're used to that. We always have that traffic. You know, it's communal living. So I just think now everyone else is Latino in this country now.
And everybody's tasting all our food and experiencing all the music, which is great. I mean, it actually opens the doors to people understanding our culture and realizing a lot about our different cultures. I mean, because I think that within the Hispanic, the whole Hispanic parentheses, there is so many different cultural differences, but still, you know, everybody has such special things, you know, the food or the music or the words that they have. Sometimes, you know, I don't understand sometimes things, you know, if somebody comes from Mexico, there are certain words that they use that I don't understand. And the same when I'm, you know, from Puerto Rico and I say, I don't know, you know, colmado. Colmado is like, they are like, what is colmado?
Right, like, well, we say guapo means you're mad, you know, but guapo to a Mexican means good looking. So it's one of those things that it just means something different. Same word.
Exactly. Oh, guapo. Bueno, sí, en Puerto Rico we have it. We say guapo is handsome, but no te ponga guapo
Yeah,
means, hey, you know,
don't get mad.
exactly, no te ponga guapo. Eso, you know, that would be something that the grandmother would like slap you across the face or take the chancleta out si te
Right,
ponía
right,
guapo.
right.
Mira, tell me a little bit of when you started Urban Collective and how it has grown in the past years, etc. I would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. So we started Uptown Collective broadcasting on a daily basis on February 2010. And it really began as kind of homage to the neighborhood, kind of a way of just highlighting all the beautiful things that were happening there. I like to refer to it as the Uptown Renaissance because there's been this kind of rebirth. In the 90s, Washington Heights was like the epicenter of crack. So,
Oh, wow.
everyone would come, from different neighborhoods in New York City to buy their drugs wholesale in my neighborhood. It was like an open air drug market. We even had riots in '92. Right after the LA riots, we had riots of our own on around July of '92. So, this is a neighborhood that went through a lot and now is flourishing, and a lot of the sons and daughters of the bodega owners and the salon owners have opened up their own businesses. So if I give you an example, there's a street called Dykeman, and Dykeman, we like to call it, it's just like South Beach almost, because it's this beautiful open air, they have all these open air dining, sidewalk dining, and it's beautiful. You have La Marina, which is a beautiful location where stars, Leonardo DiCaprio was there, all the athletes go there, and all that in a neighborhood that 20 years ago went through riots. It's a pretty beautiful thing. And I like to say we want to document what's happening as well as to help shape what's happening in the neighborhood as well.
Do you feel like Washington Heights, going back to millennial generation, is becoming younger? That there might be, I mean, do you still have a lot of viejitos or, people that have lived there for many years, or do you see an influx or millennials staying in Washington Heights?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an influx, especially with all the new, there's a lot of new bars, a lot of new restaurants. So there's definitely before, maybe 10 years ago, you wouldn't stay uptown if you wanted to hang out. You would go downtown, you would go to the Village, you would go to the Lower East Side, because there really wasn't any spots for people to hang out in. And, some people left the neighborhood for that reason. But now there's plenty of places to go. On any given night, there's a few things happening. You can go here. This on Thursday we have there's a thing called NOMA, which is an art gallery, and we're having an exhibition called Selfless Selfies. And it was written up in the Daily News today. We've wrote about it. And, that kind of thing where art culture is happening, it attracts young folks. And it's a beautiful thing because that energy is always good. New blood is always good.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. No, it's one of the things that it was very interesting. It was Hispanics. That was another fact that I found, is that Hispanics' median age right now in the United States, where there are 50 million of Hispanics, the median age is between 27 and 32. So it's millennial. It's becoming younger and younger as those millennials kick in. Those, you think that there are 50 million Hispanics in the United States, and 18 to 20 of them are millennials who were born between 1980 and 2000. Then you see, you have the ones that are younger than that, but then the older one is kind of the curve is for millennials. So it's more millennials, the percentage, the median age, which is very interesting. And I would like to see, hopefully I'll see it, what is going to be, how the United States is going to change in the next 20, 30 years. Not only when the millennials take over in, corporate and what do they do, but also, the Hispanic millennials.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially at the ballot booth, at the voting booth. I think that's where we need to really flex our muscles and come together and say, I'm not going to allow you to disrespect Latinos, and really kind of come together as one and really make our voices heard. I think that's very important. There's a lot of prominent Latino politicians coming up, and I think, maybe within before 20 years, we might see a Latino president, which would be a beautiful thing.
I think so too, actually. I don't want to talk politics in this broadcast, but I think it's possibly going to happen sooner than later, before there is when we see a president of the United States, or more representation of the Latino Hispanic community in the politics. For me, something actually that is very interesting, because Puerto Ricans make up is the second largest group. There is the Mexicans, and then there is the Puerto Ricans in the United States. Right. And I would like to see more representation from the Puerto Rican community in the politics, in Florida, definitely, and in New York. But I'm also looking forward to see what the younger generation, the millennial generation, is going to do, how they're going to engage in social issues and political issues and their community issues. Today, actually, there was a Facebook hangout that they were doing with Maria Hinojosa, and I actually put the question to her regarding because she has been doing all these programs about Latin Americans, and I was asking her by the numbers. It's called Latino by the Numbers, which is really an amazing project that she has, and I did put the thing out to her, the question of how do you see the younger millennials, the Hispanic millennials, getting involved in I don't like to say politics as much as community, as social, know what's happening, and then yes, the normal future is to get political figures that represent the 50 million Hispanics, but definitely the 20 million Hispanic millennials.
Yeah, and again, to me, it's not so much about either side of the political divide, but I think it's about having our voices heard, and I think our parents were scared a little bit, and to have their voices heard, they didn't want to rock the boat. But I think that we have no choice. We're going to be the majority in this country, and I think that our voices need to be heard, and our ideals need to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your experiences with the Ford Millennials. How did you get involved with them? What was your contact in New York? How did you, the first time that we met you was at Ford Trend, so would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been, Cisco Anthony's my good friend, and, he's always invited me to Ford events. I love Ford events. I've had a great time, the food, the great drinks, and always, beautiful events. So I've been doing it for probably since 2010. So anytime Ford has an event, I'm usually there. Ford Trends was amazing. It was my first time in Detroit, and I really got to see, a company that is about excellence. It's great because Ford went through this period where, no one wanted a Ford. Now everyone wants a Ford. Mm-hmm. And to see behind the scenes, to see the engineers, to see the people working on the factory floor, and that excellence, that American excellence, that's a beautiful thing. It's inspiring, and it's funny because when I was in Detroit, I saw they had these T-shirts that said Detroit versus everybody. So I made my own T-shirt. It's called Uptown versus Everybody. So I actually was inspired by that trip and came out with my own design that represents my company. So it was pretty awesome.
Also, you did one for Urban Collective?
Yeah, so I did Uptown versus Everybody because I saw it in the airport. Everywhere I saw was Detroit versus Everybody, and it was about self-reliance and, not having to depend on anybody. I said, okay, I love that. I'm going to do my own design, my own version. I did Uptown versus Everybody, and it's pretty a big, huge hit, so it's been great.
Where can we find it? Can we find it on your website?
Yeah, so on my website, there's a shop on the corner. You could buy. You go to his shop and you could buy right from there.
It's good to know. So it's uptowncollective.com?
Correct.
Okay, fantastic.
And the Twitter is...
I always have wanted to... tell me.
The Twitter is Uptown Collective without the E because, on Twitter you only get 15 characters, so...
I know. Doesn't they always make it difficult? And then tell us a little bit about... your experience here in Miami. I mean, I said a little bit of what you guys experienced, but it was you experiencing it for the first time. So I would love to hear from you about your experience here in Miami with the Latin Hispanic community all over the place and the music, etc.
It's funny because I have been to Miami before, but I had only been to really South Beach, so I didn't appreciate it as much. I thought South Beach was Miami, but this trip I got to see what Miami really was, and I was blown away. You know, when I came home, I told my wife, I said, I think we need to move to Miami. You know, I really liked it. It was amazing. It was beautiful. It was warm. You know, I'm really, you know, hating the snow here. You know, so I was blown away by how awesome Miami was. You know, Calle Ocho, I felt like I was in Washington Heights, you know, except without snow. So I was blown away by how awesome it was. It was really, it felt like you know, a Latin American city. It was.
I know, that's what happens, that you get to Miami and you realize that there are all these different Hispanic cultures living in the same place. So after a while, you know how to identify the different accents that people speak, and you know, oh, you're from Puerto Rico, or you're from Santo Domingo, you're from Mexico, Argentina, but everybody's in one place. You know, it's a big city, but it's very interesting to see how they have everybody. There's a piece of Latin America, like you said, in Miami, o sea, every Latin American country here.
Right, and then there's so much press and media over there as well. So it's become a power center, which is awesome. So you know, I like it because I'm a city boy. You know, so Miami's a city, and it's a big city. It's a powerful city, and the great weather. So I think it might be my second home.
Ah, that's fantastic. No, and now we're trying to make it a tech hub, which is the great thing. You know, Knight Foundation is very involved with everything that has to do with making it into a tech hub of people knowing how, you know, applications, and the Lab Miami is a center of, you know, of people just working together, entrepreneurial work. I mean, it's really interesting. And we have all those conferences happening here, like Social Media Week and Social Media Day and Web Congress, and they're all coming here, you know, to do it. AHA, their annual conference is here. Festival of Media just happened. So yeah, so it's really interesting. Miami is a great cosmopolitan city, and I have to remember that that not all Hispanic millennials might have the same situation in the countries that they or in the cities that they live in.
Right, right.
Because here we're so open about our Hispanic nature, you know, that's why it's interesting to hear from somebody that, like you, that it's, you know, in New York, in Washington Heights, that, you know, your area is Hispanic, but then when you get out of there, how does your Hispanic culture either affect or benefit you being a millennial?
Right. And I felt right at home in Calle Ocho. I was like, this is just like being in my neighborhood, you know, the bulla, the baile, everything. I was like, okay, I know what this is. I could feel this. I could identify. I could empathize, you know. So I really was blown away by Miami. I fell in love with Miami. So thank you.
No, and if you guys actually follow Let Black on Instagram and follow him on Uptown Collective, I don't know if you put the salsa dancing horse. Yes. Oh my God, that was an amazing video, because we went to Noches Culturales, which is the Fridays in Little Havana, and there was there were several policemen on top of horses, but the way that you did it, led that video with the music, or actually the music was in the background, it was amazing. You know?
I didn't add the music. That was there. You know, I just simply recorded it, and to me, I was amazed because I told Golden, I said, look, the horse is dancing salsa. He's like, no. I was like, look, it's dancing salsa. And to me, that shows you how Latino Miami is, because this police officer thought it was important that his horse dance salsa. You know what I'm like? So he taught his horse salsa. That's mind blowing when you think about it. So and people don't believe me, but I got the video to prove it. I didn't stage that, so it's real.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh yeah, I have always wondered. I love your logo behind you, the one that you use as your Twitter handle, and the one, is that an artist that did it for you? Did you do it for yourself? The one right behind you with the star, and you with the glasses?
Yeah, so that one was done by this local artist named Martha Alicia, and she's I think she's Dominican and something else, and I think a South American, and she did that at an event for me, and it was pretty awesome. So that was, I keep that up there, you know, because it was something genuine. She presented it to me, you know, and it was beautiful.
Very nice. So I think that, give me some parting thoughts. We can wrap it up in like 5 or 10 minutes. And we have been here talking great about, the Hispanic millennial culture and what is, how Miami actually reminds you of Washington Heights, how you started with Uptown Collective, how, moving to Miami would be fantastic for you, and how being a Hispanic millennial has helped you, considering what you're doing now, the idea of seeing your neighborhood get better, and talking about it and actually engaging and saying what's good about Washington Heights, which includes a big Hispanic community.
Yeah, it's funny because I never, when I started blogging, when I started doing this, it was just out of love. But it's opened so many doors for me, so I get invited to things and I attend things that were, what was considered normal press. But, blogs, and we're on the same level now, which is amazing. I did a short film that we filmed about how my neighborhood celebrates the 4th of July. And we filmed it to July 4th, 2013. July 4th, 2014, we were on the front page of the New York Times, which is amazing. And I'm actually working on a full-length documentary about the street libation called the Nutcrackers, a street drink. But I'm also trying to tell the bigger history of my neighborhood, of the last 20, 30 years. And it wouldn't be possible without the blog. People wouldn't even know who Let Black was if it wasn't for the blog. So, the blog has done a lot for me. And just, a lot of times people come up to me and they're like, man, dude, you really made me proud of Washington Heights. I didn't know Washington Heights had so much history, had so much to offer. So, it's been a public service that has helped me tremendously in my career as a writer, as a filmmaker. And I think it's being part of 4 Millennials is now taking my platform national. And, because it's Latino, I would like to say even international. So every time I go to a Ford, event or a Ford Millennials event, I make sure I take my business card, and we're meeting so much people that my network and my reach has been expanded exponentially, and I'm very thankful. And I think that's part of being Latino, that kind of, I got work to do. Let me get the work done, and let me make things better for my children, and that's part of our identity. And I'm very proud to be a 4 Millennial. I'm very proud to be Dominican. I'm very proud to be Latino. And I'm very proud of not being a dweller in a bemoaner. I'm a person that likes to get things done. I like to look for solutions. And I think Millennials in general are like that. That instead of focusing on what's wrong, we like to focus on how do I make it right. And I think that's going to serve us well. It's going to serve this country well as well.
I think so too. You have said it so right. I mean, it's the way that millennials are working, and Hispanic millennials, because the Hispanic millennials, many of them bring that warmth, that moral values, that abuela, that family, that everybody's a primo, let's get everybody into business together, let's help everybody. Plus they have all the characteristics of the millennial generation, of being creative, being go-getters, not being sold into anything that they don't believe in, and that's very important. I mean, that's why I think a lot of marketers and people have difficulty trying to sell to them, because they have very, very certain values that they look for, or things that they look at their peers to their side and they say, okay, why would I buy this product? It's not like advertised. So it's really interesting for me. But also, that mix with the Hispanic culture, having the 2 languages, even if one is a Spanglish and the other one is English, and having that culture background, I think it's very important. And it's going to make I think that generation is going to push forward the Hispanic interests in the United States. Exactly, socially, community, corporate, because they are bringing those 2 things together.
I agree.
Well, Mira, I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Let's do this again soon. Golden Martinez was not able to join us, but Golden is one of our ambassadors also from New York, and he just started a foundation called Get Focused Foundation. So I also want to, let you know. I'll write the Twitter handles for everybody. Please follow the hashtag #FortMillennials and join the group. We also have Lupita Giestra that couldn't join us. She's in Los Angeles, but she is in the middle of doing her master's degree. And she's our ambassador from Los Angeles. And in Dallas, we have Adolfo Muñiz, and Adolfo is with Univision UT, the university programming, which is also fantastic. And here in Miami, also, 2 seniors from FIU. We have Sal Froseno and Maria Hagen, which I also am very proud to call them Ford ambassadors because they're doing wonderful things in the community of Miami. And also, it's the difference in cultures of all of this. Just like Led is from Dominican heritage, Golden is from Puerto Rican heritage, Lupita is from Mexican, the same with Adolfo, and Sal from Miami is from Colombian heritage and Italian, and Maria too, ¿verdad? Maria Hagen is Colombian.
Venezuelan.
I knew. I'm sorry, Maria, if you were hearing us.
And she had a birthday too, so happy birthday, Maria.
I know, it was her birthday. And so I want to thank Ford also for being so supportive of this project of Hispanic Millennials. And I say to you, good night. And I look forward to talking to all of you in the future. Un beso, mi corazón, y un abrazo.
Okay, buenas noches.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.